My name's Michael Jimenez, and this is the Alamo City Sportscast. Look at this. We got Joe Garcia hanging out right next to me. No longer at the other computer, is now right here. Same picture, same screen.
Yeah.
What's going on, Joe?
Nothing, man. Had a great time yesterday with you at the Spurs game. Even though the game didn't turn out the way we had hoped, Spurs were looking great, and then all of a sudden, in the final seconds, just got away from them.
Yeah, dude. That was brutal, man, because the Spurs at one point, I believe, were up 27 points.
They was 22.
And it was over 20.
Yeah.
And it just got chipped away. You and I were screaming from the section that we were in because we kind of felt like it was one person that was circling the drain at the time. We're going to get into that. We're going to get into the Cowboys season. Is the Cowboys season starting to circle the drain? Or do Cowboy fans have more faith in this team, even with a loss to the Eagles? It was a brutal loss. I thought they had it, dude. I thought the Cowboys had it. We'll talk about the Houston Texans, by the way, who are now at 500. CJ Stroud, 5 touchdowns in Sunday's performance. What a great win for the Houston Texans. Lots to get into. College football, UTSA Roadrunners. UT won, but dropped in the polls. We have to get into that. We'll talk some pop culture as well. But again, if you want to take part, we are live right now on YouTube. We go from about 10:30 to about 11:45 or so. But again, you might be listening to us in the future. We're available on all the major podcasts. So we're talking about the iHeart app. We're talking about what's called Google. We're talking about Spotify, all of that stuff. If you want to leave a comment with us, you can go onto our chat line on YouTube. We have a chat feature as well that we're going to call up in a minute or so. Already 15 messages have been sent to us that we'll read in a moment, but my goodness, lots going on. What's going on? So what's going on in the chat so far?
I'm trying to see if I can even put them on here. We're actually trying a new system out, so bear with us here.
Yeah, so
I'm trying to get everything going.
Brand new system going on over here, which is why Joe is sitting right next to me. So we'll have some technical difficulties along the way. It kind of happens, but lots to get into today. But first and foremost, I want to address something that I thought was kind of funny on Twitter today. Apparently people got pissed off at a tweet that I posted yesterday saying that I was trying to stir the pot.
Did they?
And the first person I said this to was Jeff Garcia from Locked On Spurs and Ken's 5.
Oh, yeah.
I was talking to Jeff at halftime of the game yesterday, and I looked at him and I said, and this is what I tweeted, Jeremy Sochan is Lonnie Walker.
2.0.
And his eyes bugged out like, no, Jimenez, don't tweet that. Don't do that.
Cook.
You're gonna get cooked. You're gonna get burned. Cook him, Spurs Twitter. But the point I was trying to make with all of that is this. I had a lot of stock in Lonnie Walker to the very day that he left. I was an apologist for Lonnie Walker.
Yeah.
I called him my son. I said that I wanted Lonnie Walker on this team to be a bigger part of the offense, that it was Pop's fault that Lonnie Walker was not good with the Spurs. And I gave every excuse in the world for Lonnie Walker. They didn't play him consistent minutes. They had him as a 6th man. They had him as a 10th man. They sometimes started him. I gave every excuse in the world for Lonnie Walker because I wanted him to succeed. And what I'm saying is that at some point people realized, well, maybe Lonnie Walker is just not it. I mean, maybe he'll have a long career, but maybe he's not it. Maybe he's not destined to be a starter. Maybe he's not destined to be an all-star. And what I'm saying is that right now, the more I watch Jeremy Sochan play, the more I believe he's turning into Lonnie Walker in the sense that different positions, but about 6 months from now, we're all going to look at each other and be thinking to ourselves, wow, is this a guy even for the future of this team?
I think what's going on with Jeremy Sochan is he's being asked to play a new position.
Yeah.
And in doing so, there's going to be a lot of growing pains. And I think we're seeing that. Coach Pop even alluded to such after the game. I think it was Jeff Garcia who had an excerpt from a question that he asked Coach Pop about one Jeremy Sochan. And it's kind of frustrating right now, early on in the season. He's trying to learn how to play point guard, not something that comes natural to him. But at the end of the day, if Coach Pop isn't just going to let him ball out and play at his natural position, try to force the issue and make him something different, there's going to be a learning curve. We're only a couple games into the season. We're already seeing that. Yes, he didn't look very good yesterday, especially in the waning moments of the game, getting burned out there defensively. And, the overtime period as well didn't look very good defensively. I mean, things like this are going to happen. He's going to have games where he's not going to look good, every single game. But at the end of the day, I think it's still kind of a little early. I do see what you're saying about him, though. Is he just one of these guys who's going to just be a piece? Not a superstar. I mean, who knows?
Dude, the number of mentions yesterday on Twitter of the guy's going to be a future star. What are you watching? People are always like, Jimenez, what game are you watching? F you. What game are you watching? We were there. We were at the Frostbank Center watching Jeremy Sochan get worked by Scotty Barnes over and over and over and over again. I would say that he gave up 20 to 30 points yesterday.
Yeah, there were about 3 plays in a row where he got worked, dude.
And then, he got dunked on at the end. And what did Pop do? Yanked him out the last 6 minutes of regulation. And when they brought him back inbounds pass, Spurs try to win the game with the 1.7 seconds left. What does he do? Throws the ball 40 feet down court, got intercepted, gave Toronto one more chance to win the game.
0.9 or
dude,
something,
it
0.1.
was a pathetic performance by Jeremy Sochan last night. Pathetic. And I am tired of it. And I am tired of Spurs fans being apologists for him.
Yeah.
And I understand that they're playing him out of position, right? But guess what? Last year, the Spurs played him out of position too, because he's not a shooter. What were they allowing him to do last year? They were allowing him to shoot 4, 5, or 6 3-pointers per game. This is a guy that can't shoot. He was not a shooter in college. He was not a shooter as a rookie. He's not a shooter now. Yesterday, 2 for 8. He is 22% on the season from 3, down from 25% last year, which is down from 29% as a college freshman. His shooting percentages are so low. He is right now in the bottom 10 percentile when it comes to offensive efficiency. Bottom 10 percentile. And Spurs fans are enamored with this guy. They love him because he has nice hair. He's going to be the next Dennis Rodman. Well, they never asked Dennis Rodman to be point guard. So what is he? Okay. Pop is so mismanaging Jeremy Sochan. He mismanaged him last year, mismanaging him this year. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with people when they say that he's out of position, but will you at least agree with me that maybe Pop doesn't know exactly what he's going to do with this guy? Because this guy, when they say he's a raw talent, that just basically means it's going to be years in the making. And do we have the time to figure out what Jeremy Sochan is and isn't? I can tell you what he isn't. He isn't a scorer. You take him out of 5 feet, he can't make dick. Yeah. He cannot make dick.
I think his trajectory moving forward is probably going to be a really good role player, where he can play really good defense, much like a Bruce Bowen. I'm going to get this.
Yeah, we got to get that chat going.
So much like Bruce Bowen, you can go ahead and count on him to knock down an open 3 here and there.
No, you can't.
But I'm saying
he can't make a 3.
Not right now, but I'm saying eventually.
No, he can't.
Maybe he can develop it.
No, he cannot develop it. That is the biggest fallacy of sports, is that you're going to develop it as a pro. If you were not a shooter in high school and not a shooter in college and not a shooter as a rookie, you're not going to be a shooter now. Did Steph Curry, I'm not saying that he's going to be Curry, okay? But what I'm saying is that Steph Curry knew how to shoot the damn ball in high school and in college. Right, when he was at Davidson. Keldon Johnson for the Spurs knew how to shoot the ball in college and in high school. Devin Vassell knew how to shoot at Florida State, knew how to shoot as a rookie. Are you telling me that we're going to develop a shooter in the pros without Chip Engelland, who's no longer with this roster, we're no longer with this team as the shooting guru? No, it's not going to happen. I hate to quote Mean Girls. Quit making fetch happen, trying to make fetch happen. Quit trying to make Jeremy Sochan's going to be an eventual shooter happen. It's not. It's not. And now he's getting worked over defensively. What ended up happening was Jeremy Sochan, the first 2 months as an NBA pro, last November and last December, played very well defensively and had a very, very good first impression among a lot of Spurs fans. But what happened since then? It's getting worked over defensively. He got underneath Luka's skin last year, right? Remember that whole story? Jeff Garcia talking all about that. What happened this year? Luka worked him, baby. Scotty Barnes worked him. It's not there. It's not there. He's regressing. And is he regressing because the talent's not there, or is he regressing because Pop is setting him up for failure? I don't want to blame Jeremy Sochan for this. I want him to play to his strengths. And last year, playing him to the strength of, well, he's going to shoot 5 or 6 threes per night. That was not a strength. Him playing point guard is not a strength. And dude, the number of people reached out to me yesterday and were like, did you watch that game? Were you even watching that game? Okay, here's what I watched. He scored what? 4 points? Yeah. 5 assists, 4 rebounds in 29 minutes, shot 2 for 8, and gave up 20 to 30 points to Scotty Barnes. That's the game I watched. I was there. You were there.
I was there.
And why are people defending? The Drew Show coming up strong right now.
Hold on. I'm going to go ahead and get to the comments right now. I got to log back in here.
Jonathan C. coming out and saying Lonnie is in Crooklyn this year, but he'll play for the Shanghai Sharks next year. I don't know, man. Lonnie Walker's looking pretty decent this year. Last I saw, he's averaging about 14, 15 points per game.
He's playing with the Nets right now.
Yeah, so that's basically it. I'm just so frustrated watching this because so many Spurs fans are all about Sochan. They think that he is going to be great, that he's going to be Kawhi Leonard, that he's going to be like the next big thing for the Spurs, the running mate to Victor Wembanyama, and it's not it, man. You got to learn how to shoot. And you're not going to develop a shot in the pros. Tony Parker developed a shot in the pros, but he wasn't god-awful. He went from being inconsistent to decent. Where's the jumping off point for Jeremy Sochan? It's god-awful. So the next level from going to god-awful is crappy. And then you go from crappy to inconsistent.
Yeah.
And then you go from inconsistent to decent. He's not going to go from god-awful to really good. If he was a good shooter, the dude would be shooting free throws with 2 hands. He would. Now, I will say this. He humbled himself with the one-handed, and he's getting it around 70%, 75%. Fine, he humbled himself. Does he have a pretty decent hook shot? Sure, why not? The hook shots are fine. But my God, what are we talking about? What are we doing out there? If he was really that good, he wouldn't have been on the bench the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. And then they said, come at me and go, Joe. Yeah, but he was out there during the overtime. Yeah, how did that work out?
They had Chetty Usman, man.
Yeah.
He didn't play a single minute in the overtime period.
So let's go ahead and go through some of these.
Yeah, I'm trying to get logged in here.
Oh my God. How long does it take to get logged in here, Joe?
Hey,
Come on,
dude,
man.
I got to go send me an invite. I got to go ahead and set everything up. I'm just like, the remote control wasn't working today.
Okay, so first of all, while you're looking at that, can I address something? The elephant in the room. Okay, so I find it funny that so many people got upset about my post about Jeremy Sochan that they come at me and they come at you, try on a personal level. We're like, well, Jimenez, that's why you don't have a radio show anymore. I'll tell you what, man. The freedom that we have as a podcast, this is the present and the future of sports talk radio. Saying that you don't have a radio show is like saying, well, you don't have a newspaper column anymore. You know, how often do you read the Express News? Right? Do you see podcasters trying to act more like radio people? Or do you think radio people are acting more like podcasters these days?
I think people are starting to act more like podcasters nowadays, man.
The idea of us driving around town listening to the radio is not it anymore, man. It's about podcasting. Okay. It's about on demand.
Well, guess what?
Are you finally in?
I think I am. So I'm going to go ahead and get back up here. And we're going to start with the Drew Show because he did spend $20 on
Let's hear this.
Super Chat, man. So shout out to you, sir.
Drew, thank you so much. He says, quote, Pop burned 2 timeouts so that Mitch Robinson could kill Pop play to run his. It was doo-doo. Mitch ain't it, Pop. Looks like Ty Lue, but not Ty Lue. Pop's macho head games will ruin Sochan like he ruined Lonnie Walker IV. You know, I liked Lonnie Walker so much, dude. I remember when the Spurs drafted him out of Miami, and I thought to myself, man, this is a potential Dwayne Wade type of player.
Yeah.
Do I think the Spurs mismanaged Lonnie? They did. And is he playing better because he's being managed better now? Perhaps. Sochan, though, when they drafted him, the one word that they described was raw. And what raw means that there's nothing there that's polished, nothing there that's finished. I mean, look at Malachi Branham yesterday. Malachi Branham, who's in his second year as well, also drafted alongside Jeremy Sochan. The guy knows how to shoot. He knows how to shoot. You know why? He shot well in college at Ohio State. You know why? He shot well in high school. Shooters shoot. Rebounders rebound. You know, you're not going to get better getting bounced around by defenses in the NBA. That's just the weirdest rationale of all time. You know, it's like Victor Wembanyama has all the talent in the world, right? Can his shooting improve? And people are like, well, Jimenez, Wemby is a 30% three-point shooter for his career in France.
Yeah.
That's not great, but you can see the form. You can see that the rhythm's there, the rotation is there. You can see all of these different things when it comes to Wemby. You know that it's there. Sochan has no shot, dude. There's no rotation. You take him outside of 5 feet, he's only shooting 25 to 30%. His effective field goal shooting right now is like 42%. That means for every 100 shots he takes, he scores 84. If you gave Cedi Osman right now 100 shots, his effective field goal shooting says he'll make 130 points.
Hey, man.
Not 80.
Cedi's looking like a really good pickup for the San Antonio Spurs, man.
He is. Let's see any other good comments that we've have coming in. Again, you can take part in our chat right now.
Got some Cowboy comments coming in.
Are there any more Spurs ones coming in?
Yeah, I'm going to look right now.
Let's take a look. Yeah, we apologize for the technical difficulties. It's a new system over here. As you can see, Joe Garcia is sitting right next to me.
Look at what they say. Give that to Lonnie. But not Sochan. Jimenez has been a Sochan hater since last fucking year.
Okay. Am I a Sochan hater?
I don't know, man.
Would I like for him to succeed? Yes. I'm a Spurs fan. I'm a realist when it comes to it, man.
Yeah, they're calling you out right now.
I am a realist. Rudolph Gonzalez, and then Lonnie had one good game in the playoffs, and you were gushing all over him again. Rudy, that's exactly it. Sochan is what Lonnie Walker was to me is what Jeremy Sochan is to so many fans. You have hit the nail right on the head right there. That's the point. You get one good game, and you're like, see, he can do it. And then it's followed up by 5 or 6 bad games.
Look at this.
That is Sochan. He has 2 or 3 good passes against the Suns in the first quarter, then plays like shit the next 3 quarters, and you're like, well, we saw the flashes in the first.
Look at this comment here. Mario Cavazos.
Jeremy has no skill set, says Mario. Dude just tries hard at times. He needs to man up and dunk everything when he's under the basket. Boy is soft. Ooh, the S word. The 4-letter S word. Soft. I don't want to go there yet. It's one of those things where you see a flash, you see 1 or 2 a game, and then that's it. And what ends up happening is that you get blinded by everything else that goes on. You get blinded by the fact that he's getting burned defensively. Everyone's like, oh, well, this is a guy that's so good defensively. He can lock down the guys that are 1s, 2s, 3s, and 4s. No, he can't. If he could, he'd be doing it now. He's not. He's not a good defender anymore. I don't know what it is. I don't know what happened. But we're there at the game watching him get worked, get point after point, play after play. He was getting worked defensively. That's not being out of position. What that is Pop mismanaging him.
And look at you have STP11 with this comment here.
Never seen an NBA player get such a pass for being a 10.3 rebounding, non-shooting, average defensive player. He is a bust. That is a starter, question mark. Wow, we're going to use the word bust like the movie The Naked Gun? What is this, some sort of bust? Yeah, that's very impressive. But I don't want to use the word bust yet because I would love to be wrong. I want to eat so much crow when it comes to this, Joe. I want to be proven so wrong that I am ridiculed from here until forever by Spurs Twitter. I want to be wrong.
You want that smoke?
Yeah, because that would mean that Sochan became a star. I was wrong. I want to be wrong about that. You make it sound like I enjoy seeing him struggle out there. I don't. But I see what I see. And I see somebody getting worked. I see that the Spurs are better off with Trey Jones, who finally had a bad game yesterday. Finally had a bad game.
Look at this one. They're not wrong. Christopher Leja's not wrong on this one. He says, surprised Jimenez isn't throwing Wemby, who had a minus 17, since he likes to always bring up numbers.
Okay. Let's talk about Wemby from yesterday. C.D. Osman was trying to get a rebound and knock the ball out of Wemby's hands, which allowed Toronto to tie the game with a couple of seconds to go in the fourth quarter. Wemby had that rebound. Osman took it away from him. It was a hustle play. They both went for the ball. And it's tragic that the Spurs lost because of that. And it went into overtime because of that.
Maybe Sochan can be Aaron Baines, somebody put on here.
My people are here, apparently. The thing about it is that what was frustrating yesterday was that the Spurs did not force the ball into Wemby. And I hear a lot of people say, well, they guarded him very well. The dude's 7'4".
Look at Mario
Get him the
Cavazos.
ball.
When are they going to learn to pass the ball real high to Wemby?
Exactly. And Wemby had a good first half. He was in double figures in the first half. They took him out of the game in the third and fourth quarter. And when they took him out of the game, I'm just there saying, force the ball into him. You know, with the Cowboys, I remember up until this season, the argument against Dak Prescott was he would allow CeeDee Lamb to get taken out of the game, right?
Yeah.
Oh, double team CeeDee Lamb? I'm just not going to throw in his direction. No, great quarterbacks force the ball into their star and they allow their star to make a play. That was my problem with the Spurs yesterday, was that they didn't allow Wemby to make a play. They allowed him to be taken out of the game. It wasn't that he played bad in the second half.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything like that. They were just forcing the ball. They're like, oh, he's double teamed. Let's go to Zach Collins.
Yeah.
Oh, he's double teamed. Let's go to Jeremy Sochan. No, you force the ball into Wemby and let Wemby try to figure something out. And the Spurs, again, without Devin Vassell with a groin injury, by the way, that injury not as bad as originally thought. He's day-to-day, game-to-game. I bet you'll miss the next couple of games.
Yeah, they got to err on the side of caution. They don't want him to miss 10, 12 games in a row. But one of the things I did notice with Wemby, especially during the last crunch time period in the fourth quarter, probably within the last, I'd say maybe 5-6 minutes of the fourth quarter, one of the things that we saw is that the Spurs started getting away from Wemby. And instead of giving the ball to him, they kind of went away from him a little bit.
Right.
And then when they gave him the ball, it wasn't that they gave him the ball in positions where it was conducive to him to actually execute a play easily. It was hard because immediately the double team would come. They're passing the ball too low. When he was trying to catch the ball and then bring it up, you had everybody swiping at him, trying to knock the ball out of his hands, getting him tied up, that kind of stuff, sending him to the ground. It's stopping the momentum of this young man. He's not able to get in any offensive rhythm. And he tried near the end of the game. He almost single-handedly won the game. He was trying to shoot 3-pointers. He was trying to do stuff.
He finally got a shot up.
He got a shot up, but he had to get away from that double team. And I think the Spurs just need to do a better job of recognizing and playing to Wembanyama's strengths. It's still early on in the season. They still need to learn how to play with him and vice versa. But, you know, there's some things that you can go ahead and like, and there's things that are very frustrating, as we saw in yesterday's overtime loss.
Spurs are in the middle right now of a 3 games and 4 nights thing going on.
The Pacers tonight at 6:30.
Pacers tonight, 6:00.
Oh, 6. Okay.
Pacers favored by 8.5 points. Both teams are 3-3. And then on Wednesday, the Spurs are at Madison Square Garden to take on the New York Knicks. Gonna be honest with you.
Look at this comment. Isan won.
Sochan, he says, is not a point guard. Pop has to figure out his true role, or you're going to have him as a free agent at some point.
Oh, he says you're going to have to let him free at some point.
Let him free. Yeah, become a free agent at some point. Sochan isn't a point guard. And you can tell that by the fact that he doesn't dribble the ball up fast enough. You and I joked at the end of the first quarter, the Spurs were up by 1 around 4 minutes to go in the first quarter, and they brought in Trey Jones. What did I tell you? I said it's time for a run. Spurs are going to go on a run. Spurs got it up to 10 real fast. And it wasn't because, he's playing against backups. No, it's because he plays point guard. He plays point guard. And as that Spurs 27-point lead turned into 18 and then to 12, then to 7, you and I were in section 217 or 227.
Yeah.
And I was screaming, what? Put in a point guard.
No, you were
put in a point guard. Sit Sochan's ass down. Put a point guard in.
Sit his ass down. Sit his ass down. No. And that was funny too, because when you're doing all this, you're going on your little rant, and then they're like, you know what's gonna be good? Because they were playing like charades or something like that, with the caricatures.
Yeah.
And they had pictures, and they're like, if you don't pay for pants, then the shirts are free. And they're like, let's go ahead and hand out the free shirts. And I said, Mike, if they shot you a shirt and a free shirt at that, and you opened it up
from the cannon,
and it was a Jeremy Sochan shirt,
I throw that shit back.
He didn't even let me finish. I'll throw that shit back.
That is brutal, man. That's brutal.
Oh my God.
No, but I was screaming in the stands, and it's like, if I can see this from section 227 and you can see it, and I was going on a rant out there. I think what was going on was that there was 20 people around us, right? Because we had a little nook where we were at, right?
Exactly.
Right?
We don't have a lot of people bothering us.
Yeah.
We're kind of out of the way.
And I'm there screaming, get Sochan out of the game. I'm screaming, he's not a point guard. Put the point guard back in. As the Spurs lead was going from 15 to 12 to 8 to 6 to 4. And it was so funny because like the dads that were next to me started nodding. They were like, he's right.
Get him out.
The lead it circled the drain because of Sochan. It really did. Spurs should not have lost that game. And I know if Vassell was there, the Spurs probably would have won. But the thing is that, Spurs have 2 road games. Win one of these games. If they were 4-4 after 8 games, after seeing the schedule, knowing that they played the Suns twice and they played the Clippers and the Mavericks, if the season started at 4-4, I'd be happy. So just win one of these road games. And hey, maybe Sochan has a big night tonight. Maybe he does.
Matt Lerma
says on our YouTube chat, Mike has been talking about how he likes traditional point guards all summer. Now that he's not getting what he wants, he takes every opportunity to trash Sochan, trying to expand his game. Okay, go expand your game in Austin. Isn't that what the G League is for?
Yeah, developmental
league. Go expand that in Austin. Don't do that in the regular season. That's not expanding the game.
Drew Show again. Shout out to him, man. Spending $5 on the Super Chat. We do have Super Chat active.
All right, guys. Okay, Drew Show says, I want Jacques Vaughn to be the next Spurs head coach. Looks like Mitch, not Ty Lue Robinson, is the guy now. Not Will Hardy, not Ime, not Becky. It's Mitch. There's something to be said about point guards that have become head coaches. We've seen this with Chauncey Billups. We've seen this with Jason Kidd. You see people out there like Steve Nash who are active and things like that. There's a point guard's mentality when it comes to knowing how it all should run. And it's no different than quarterbacks in football. They know where everyone is supposed to be. And I'm all about having the traditional point guard role. Last year, if you look at the top 10 assist getters last year in the NBA, 9 were point guards. The only one that wasn't was Nikola Jokic.
Well, you know what I got to do, man? I have to do it. And I know you hate it, but Christopher Leha was begging me to do this.
No,
we gotta do the Grito.
No,
for not only Spurs fans,
just 3 seconds,
but Cowboys Nation as well.
Shit. The grito of shame. The grito of shame. That is out of a loss. You lose a 20-plus point lead. I mean, you deserve to be bagged on.
Yeah.
You deserve it. And it's not the first time. When the Spurs beat the Suns the second time, the Spurs also lost a 27-point lead. but got it back when Wemby put the team on his shoulders. This game, they didn't allow him to do that. They let Toronto take him out of the game. Brutal. Absolutely brutal.
Oh, no, look at Matt Lerma.
Wemby scored 2 points.
Matt Lerma saying you all are underestimating how well Wemby was guarded. No, we're not. We're exactly saying that's what was happening. When they were getting him the ball, they weren't getting it.
Get him the ball. Anyway, double teamed, get him the ball. Triple teamed, get him the ball. If they have all 5 players and 3 guys come off the bench illegally and have 8 people on him, you get him the ball. You are not allowed to do that. Dude, okay. Was Michael Jordan ever taken out of games? Was LeBron James ever taken out of games? Was, the greats taken out of games? No, you get them the ball. They didn't take Duncan out of games. It doesn't matter. You let him figure it out. And I know he's 6 games in, but Jesus, that is the best player you have on this team by far, especially with Vassell out.
And one of the things that Victor Wembanyama does too is when he gets the ball, he has a tendency to bring it down. Don't bring the ball down. You're the tallest guy on the court. Bring it up so it's more obvious when you're getting fouled. The refs are able to see that instead of you having to bring the ball down. Then it gets, knocked out of your hands. It's on the ground, on the court, and you're trying to scramble to grab it. You have long arms. I get that, but it's not as obvious if you bring it up and you can see people swiping at your arms.
Dude, Zach Collins, man. I had high hopes this year.
Oh, man.
The stats suggest otherwise. He's had a couple of statistically good games, but he looks so awkward out there this year. He really does.
Defensively, he becomes a liability at times. Offensively, he's putting up points, and Coach Pop is putting him out there.
Right.
But he does get burned, and I made the observation to you. I said, look what's going to happen. Teams are going to go ahead and bring him out to the top of the key, right? And then what happens immediately? He gets cooked.
Right.
They go right around him.
Trey Jones looked awful yesterday. There was something about Dennis Schroeder that I cannot stand. I cannot stand that guy. He's a good defensive player, and then you get by him, and you've got Pascal Siakam there and Scotty Barnes there. He was looking like a pinball machine, just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. He could not get any room to do anything yesterday. Trey Jones' first bad game of the year.
Matt Lerma's on one today. He says Jimenez confirmed Sochan hater.
I want to be wrong, Matt. I want to be wrong. I'm not going to be wrong this year, though.
Hey, man, Keldon Johnson, look at Drew Show says, I noticed the Keldon haters in the chat, Spurs, Twitter, and this show are ignoring his heroics in crunch time to save them Spurs along with Wemby. Funny how that works. No credit for the 27-point lead. No,
Keldon played very well.
And he's been playing well. We haven't said much about him because there's not much to say bad about him because he's been playing a lot better than he has in the previous season.
A couple of things. He's averaging fewer points per game than last year, but he's playing better.
A lot better. Defensively, he's playing better as well.
Sometimes less is more. It's amazing what happens when you play a player in their natural position.
Yeah, he's not having to do as much this season because now you have Wemby who's demanding all the attention, which is great because it allows the other players to kind of, like you said, play at their natural position, all except for Sochan. I don't know what Coach Pop is doing.
Keldon Johnson right now this year is averaging 17 points per game, almost 6 rebounds, and a little bit more than 4 assists per game. That is not bad at all.
Look at Tim Gonzalez. Wemby might have a monster game tonight, Mike and Joe. Do you believe Wemby will score 30 points tonight? I don't know if he's going to score 30 points, but
he'll get north of 20.
I think he'll have 20 plus. I think he's going to have a better showing than he did yesterday. After the game yesterday, when the reporters were interviewing him, he was not happy. No, and rightfully so. He shouldn't have been happy. This is a very disheartening and hard loss for the Spurs.
Keldon's three-point shooting has increased from 32.9% to 35.3. I know we're early on, but that's a big deal for me. His overall field goal percentage has gone up from 45% to 46%. That's a big deal. And his effective field goal shooting, one of my favorite stats, by the way, is effective field goal shooting, is at 53%. He gets that to 54, then we're pretty good.
Yeah, what we got to do too before we start getting even further into this show, we got to go ahead and do a quick ad read for one of our sponsors, and that would be MCS General Contracting. MCS General Contracting, more than 30 years of combined experience in concrete placement. They are the best in the business, honest pricing, high quality work. They get going on house foundations, driveways, concrete patio decks. If you want to extend the deck, extend the driveway. If you're a business and you need to put together a slab, a parking lot, or other concrete placement services or sidewalks, reach out to MCS General Contracting at 210-774-9155. They're confident in their skills, so give Chris Leha over at MCS General Contracting a call at 210-774-9155. And thank you for being a sponsor of this show.
MCS General Contracting, again, that diamond hard concrete, baby. Basketball, man. Get the basketball court. You know what they got to do? They got to get a basketball court built for Jeremy Sochan so he can teach himself how to shoot during the offseason. By the way, I'm looking at the effective field goal shooting for the Spurs roster right now. Now, for those who don't know what effective field goal shooting is, it's kind of like slugging percentage in baseball. Okay, it basically takes your field goal percentage, shots made versus shots missed. They then combine that with 3-point shooting to get your effective shooting, right?
Yeah.
So it's like batting average is like hits and at bats, but slugging percentage combines your doubles and triples and your home runs, right? And you get a different number. Right now, the best effective field goal shooter on this team is Charles Bassey, but Bassey doesn't play much, so I'm going to scratch him out. Next on the list is Doug McDermott, followed by Chetty Osman, Devin Vassell, and Victor Wembanyama. Okay? All of them have very good effective field goal shooting right now. Wemby's at 54.3, which means that if he shoots the ball 100 times, he'll score about 108 points per 100 times he shoots, right?
Yeah.
The worst one on the team is Julian Champagny. But of all the ones that gets run, because Champagny averages 5 minutes per game, out of all the Spurs players that have the most run, by far the worst effective field goal shooting is Jeremy Sochan. You're considered to be a bad effective field goal shooter if you're under 50%. You're considered to be atrocious if you're under 46%. He's at 42.
Damn.
And guess what? He wasn't much better last year.
Look at Chris Leah, always gets me, man. Because he's calling you out. Don't worry, MCS doesn't flip.
Brutal. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, we got one more comment here from the Drew Show. And of course, we're going to go ahead and read it because he's doing the super chat, man. That's why you get that little highlighted, mention here. So he says he's going to love it when you all Devin Slurpers realize his fragile body and lack of toughness will regulate him to a bench player. I don't know, man. I think Devin Vassell is probably arguably the second best player that the Spurs have. He's the best well-rounded player, I believe, that the Spurs have on their roster.
Yeah, that's it, man. Vassell, Drew Show and I go back and forth on social media about Devin Vassell. I'm a big fan of Devin Vassell. I love his play. And his defensively, he's gotten a lot better. Offensively, he wants to be the alpha this year. While Wemby has his training wheels on, he wants to be the alpha this year, and I don't mind it. Devin Vassell can shoot. He can knock down threes like crazy.
Yeah,
he can run the break. He plays well defensively.
Well, here's another comment from the Drew Show here.
If Devin doesn't find his way to the bench, Drew says, he will become the next Willie Anderson, a superbly talented player killed by nagging injuries. Well, I mean, if this is a groin injury that keeps him out for 3 or 4 games, so be it. Let's see at the end of the year, Drew. If he plays 60, 65 games, then I'd be okay with it. But if he plays 40, 45 games, then I will understand you saying that he is injury prone. That would make perfect sense to me at that point.
Yeah. So we got to get into this Cowboy talk, man. You saw the game last night. We came back right after the overtime period was over. We drove back here. You went home. You were tired. You were watching the Cowboy game, relaxing probably on your sofa, and you were witness to a really exciting game. Thrilling finish for Cowboy fans. Unfortunately, it was not meant to be. You had the toe stepping out of bounds for one Dak Prescott. And then what happened? The last play of the game there, Cowboys creeping in the red zone.
Yeah.
Knee down. The knee down was not a touchdown.
Okay, so Eagles were up by double digits going into the fourth quarter, right? I believe it was 28-17. And as you were saying, you had that one tight end who catches the ball at the end zone. It's declared a touchdown. Then they go to the defending team. The defending players knew that he was not in the end zone. They were asking for it to be reviewed, and all touchdowns are reviewed anyway. But you saw that the knee was down, and a lot of Cowboy fans are upset because they're saying, well, he was getting tackled at the time. It's a contact game. It's a contact game. It's a bang-bang type of thing. You're not going to let a player just catch the ball and then hit him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a contact game.
One of the things you can't do, too, is as Dak Prescott, quarterback, of the team, is when you're down near the red zone, you can't take a loss and take a sack.
Well,
you have to get rid of the ball. And I get, hey, you know what? You don't want it to turn into an interception, but you can also, there's such a thing as throwing the ball away.
Right. Okay. So lots of things to go on when it comes to that. Okay. So you have the play where the tight end gets called down at the 6-inch line, right? Then you have the fact that Dak Prescott is trying to score on a scamper, reaches out for the pylon and steps out of bounds.
Yeah.
Right. Little things like that added up, and then
out of bounds.
You go to the very end. They get the ball one last time, moving the ball down the field. Part of it because of penalties. Sets it up. There's like 46 seconds to go.
Was it like a 5-yard penalty? They were one in the 1st and 6, and then the 5-yard penalty.
Well, but to go all the way down the field.
Yeah.
They went all the way down the field because of pass interference calls and things like that.
Yeah.
And then there's 46 seconds left, and the Cowboys are within 10 yards of winning this game. The Eagles are reeling at this point, right? They are. If this was a boxing match, they're staggering, and all you got to do is hit them once in the head, right? And they're done. They're done for. And I kept thinking to myself, oh my God, the Cowboys are going to win this game. And the Cowboys somehow magically go backwards 20 yards in the next 2 plays. And as you mentioned, Dak gets sacked.
Yep.
And you can't do that. You got to throw the ball away.
Hey, man, credit to the Eagles, though, man. The Eagles defense played very well yesterday, and the Cowboys played a really good game against the division-leading, Eagles in the NFC East. The Eagles are a team that know how to win games when it gets close. Even when they're behind, it seems like they don't panic. They're able to win these big games, and that's something that the Dallas Cowboys need to learn to figure out. It seems like they just can't figure that out. When it comes into that big moment, when you have to step up, find ways to win games.
Right.
They can't do it. They just can't seem to figure that out. And it's very frustrating as a Cowboy fan to see that season after season after season. And the crazy thing is that the Cowboys, in less than a month, they're going to wind up facing the Eagles again. While the season isn't over for the Dallas Cowboys, dropping to 5-3 doesn't help your cause when you have the Eagles at 8-1. They're basically going to win the division. The Cowboys looking more and more likely that no matter what their record's going to be, they're going to be in the wild card, and they're playing on the road.
There's a very good chance of that, man.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance of that. We do have some breaking news coming in to this podcast here. According to ESPN.com, Giants quarterback Daniel Jones is out for the year. Daniel Jones suffered an injury yesterday, out for the year, and he has a torn ACL. The Giants play the Cowboys next week.
Yeah.
So the Cowboys are going to be playing against a backup quarterback.
Hobbled up Giants team.
Yeah, without a starting QB.
On paper, you would look at this and say, hey, that's going to be an easy win.
It should be, because Daniel Jones is the kind of quarterback that, the Cowboys have struggles with sometimes. A mobile quarterback who can get out of the pocket, go rush for 40, 50, 60 yards, but no Daniel Jones. Now, here's the thing about the Cowboys. Right now, as you mentioned, the Cowboys appear to be lined up for a wild card berth again.
Yeah, I like this comment here, by the way, by Joshua Jimenez.
Joshua Jimenez says, you play good teams, good players keep you close. Great players make great plays and win games like C.J. Stroud did. C.J. Stroud yesterday, 5 touchdown passes.
He balled out.
Almost threw for 400 yards. Dak Prescott almost threw for 400 yards, for crying out loud.
But Dak Prescott looked
no
good.
interceptions. But again, when it came down to it, when he needed to throw the ball away, he didn't. That's the problem. Dak Prescott's not the reason why the Cowboys lost.
No,
Dak
not
Prescott was the reason why they were in the game.
Yeah.
Because Tony Pollard did nothing yesterday. They were in the game because of Dak Prescott, but they didn't win at the end because of Dak Prescott. And that reminds me so much of what Tony Romo was. Tony Romo was the reason why they were in so many last second games.
Come from behind victories, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm just like at the big moment when you need that huge win to keep on pushing yourself forward, getting back to that Super Bowl. Wasn't able to do it.
No, wasn't able to do it. Now, the Cowboys will make the playoffs, and just make the tournament is kind of half the battle, if you will.
Yeah.
But if you look at the standings right now, the Eagles right there at 8-1, the Cowboys at 5-3. That's a 2.5 game lead in the NFC East. To me, it's almost insurmountable, but I'll give the Cowboy fans some hope, for some reason for optimism. Okay, a couple of things. If the season were to end right now, the Eagles would have the bye in the first round, and the first round matchups would be Minnesota going to Detroit in a 7-2 matchup. Dallas at the number 6 spot would go to San Francisco for the first round wildcard game, and the Seattle Seahawks would travel to New Orleans to play the Saints, who are now alone atop the NFC South. So why would the Cowboys have some reason for optimism? Well, let's take a look at the next 2 games for the Cowboys. The Cowboys, again, right now, 5-3, but they have no Daniel Jones when they go up against the Giants. They're home in Jerry World against the Giants. Then they have the Carolina Panthers. And Bryce Young, all he does is throw pick sixes because homeboy cannot see over the offensive line. Then after that, the Cowboys have, I believe this is the Thanksgiving game, the Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
Those are, and that's at Jerry World. All 3 of those should be victories.
There's the thing, though. The last couple of games during Thanksgiving for the Cowboys have not ended well.
Right.
You know?
Now, the Commanders have been playing kind of feisty. That's going to be a difficult game.
It's not going to be easy for the Cowboys.
But can you see the Cowboys winning the next 2 games? Carolina, I mean, the Cowboys defense
Giants
against Bryce Young and the Giants, right? So they're going to be 7-3. You agree with me on that, right?
I believe that they can win those teams. But again, on paper, it looks like, hey, you should have no problem against the Giants.
Now let's take a look at what the Eagles have the next 4 games. On the road against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football. That's a tough game. Home against the Buffalo Bills, who are struggling to some extent and need to win that game. Then they're home against the 49ers, and then on the road against the Cowboys. That 4-week stretch for the 8-1 Eagles, it was so important for them to win last night's game to give them some buffer room.
Yeah.
But man, that stretch right there of Chiefs, Bills, Niners, then the Cowboys. And then after that, they play the Seahawks on the road. It is possible for the Cowboys to catch up. It really is. The problem is that the Cowboys' schedule right now gets easy, and then what happens towards the end of the season? It gets harder. Because they got Miami. They've got the Eagles again. It just gets harder for the Cowboys as time goes on. They got on the road against the Bills. Cowboys have the Lions. So
that happens all the time, though, with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Notoriously, in that second half of the season, it's where they start seeing a lot of their losses because they're playing up against a lot of good teams, great teams. They got the Seattle Seahawks coming up as well in the month of November, I believe.
Now, the Houston Texans, though, C.J. Stroud, man, that guy's the truth. That guy should be Rookie of the Year.
He's balling out, dude.
He
no
is
doubt.
The truth.
Especially with that first game where he looked a little shaky and the coach was like, credit to the coach. Houston, Texas coach. He believed in him.
And to think last week they should have won that game. The Texans should be 5-3, but they're 4-4. But who would have thought of them being 4-4 right now?
A 500 team, I wouldn't have thought of it.
Right now, the Texans are 1 game away from making the playoffs. Because if the season ended right now, Kansas City would get the bye. You'd have the Bengals, Joe Burrow, no longer hurt, man. He started the season off hurt.
Yeah.
They're playing very well. You'd have the Bengals on the road against the Ravens, man. The Ravens look tough. Lamar Jackson's playing so well. You'd have the Cleveland Browns making the playoffs, taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then the 5-4 matchup would be Pittsburgh on the road to Miami. Miami undefeated against teams with losing records, winless against teams with winning records.
Yeah.
They had a tough game, a tough loss in Germany to the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday.
We also got to talk about the latest AP college football poll that came out.
Oh, bring it. What's going on?
So as of November the 5th, this is what the latest AP poll rankings are for college football. You still have no change at number 1. You still have Georgia. You have Michigan again, no change there, even though they're cheating. Ohio State, it's number 3. Florida State, they're number 4 right now. You have Washington, who is at number 5, and all the top 5 teams are all undefeated. Now you're going to Oregon. You got them in the top 6 right now. They're at the 6th spot. And then you have Texas. Now, Texas, this was an interesting one to me because UT, they actually winded up beating Kansas State, but it was a game that went into overtime.
And it was a game that they could have lost, man. They were up by 20 points in the third quarter, and then it went downhill from there. But correct me if I'm wrong. Did Texas go down a spot?
I believe they went down. They dropped 1 slot. So now they're at number 7. So we're going to go with the top 10 here. And at number 8 right now, I believe we have Alabama. So Alabama's number 8.
They beat LSU.
Mm-hmm. And now you have Penn State too at number 9. And rounding out the top 10 is Ole Miss. They went up a slot there. So that's your top 10, your AP college football top 10.
Now UTSA has won 5 games in a row, beat North Texas out in Denton 37-29. It seems like it was a close game based on the score, but it really wasn't. UTSA was in control of that game for most of the afternoon. Right now, as I mentioned, UTSA 5-0. They started the year 1-3. They had losses to Houston. They had a loss to Army. They had a loss to Tennessee. They've regrouped. Remember when they were 1-3, head coach Jeff Traylor said, "We're undefeated still, because all that matters is what goes on in the American Athletic Conference at the AAC." And right now, 3 teams are undefeated atop the AAC. You've got Tulane at 5-0, SMU at 5-0, and UTSA at 5-0. UTSA plays at Tulane in New Orleans the day after Thanksgiving. UTSA this week, though, they should be coming back home if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're playing in the Dome.
UTSA football, man. It's fun times over there, dude. I love going.
What
to
does
games.
Coach Traylor say? They're undefeated.
We're undefeated, baby. We're undefeated. Home against Rice, a 6:30 kickoff. So, man, there'll be a lot of tailgating. Because when you tailgate at 2:30, when a game's at 2:30, you really can't get hyped up because you get there at 11. You're having some tacos, a little bit of barbecue. You get a few drinks in you, then you go in.
You're drunk before the game.
But if kickoff is at 6:30, man, you can prep for hours before going on in.
Yeah, if you're going to get there, it's an early game. The tailgate people, the alum, are going to be there like at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, right when they open the gates, you know?
And I go with my chilled fireball, man. I go with my chilled fireball. Rudolph says, "You don't sway Cowboy fans, Jimenez." I don't know where he's going with that. It's one of those things where, I mean, Cowboys are a good team, but are they a great team? The answer is no.
That's what I was saying. Texans are an 8-9
Josh
win team.
Jimenez saying, I was saying the Texans are an 8-9 win team. I thought 6 before the season started. I said 6.
CJ Stroud changed your mind.
Well, no. I was all about CJ Stroud. Go back. I have the receipts from San Antonio Sportscast. I was like, they lucked out by getting to number 2, because had they had number 1, they would have taken Bryce Young, which was the wrong pick. The right picks in the draft this year, quarterback, and I said it several times on air, was CJ Stroud and Will Levis. And guess what? Both of them are balling out.
Oh, look at this. Texas Latina says, Texas Longhorns stayed number 7 in the AP poll. No change after the win against K-State.
Okay, so I think you're right about that, Texas Latina. I think the disconnect that I have is that they stayed at 7, but someone leaped over them. Oregon leaped over them.
I believe it was Oregon.
Is what it was. So they stayed the same, but who was 8 went 6, is what I'm saying. Rudolph says, when you're saying you're going to give Cowboy fans some hope, that's what I'm talking about. Well, the hope is this. I mean, you take a look at that schedule that the Eagles have, where they got the Bills, they got the Chiefs, they've got the Cowboys, they've got the Seahawks, they've got the Niners. I mean, with those 5 teams ahead for the Eagles, you would think that they're going to lose at least 2 of them, right?
Yeah. They're going to have a loss there too.
So if they're 8-1 and they go 2-3, that makes them 10-4. Can the Cowboys be 10-4 at that point in the season?
I don't know.
But with the Cowboys having a weak schedule leading up to that game in Philadelphia, because the Cowboys right now at 5-3, they should be 8-3. They should be 8-3 going up into that game against the Eagles. They beat the Eagles. Suddenly they're 9-3. They can beat the Eagles. The Eagles are a better team, though.
Yeah.
So if you got to beat them, you gotta get them going. That defense needs to be on point, man. Leighton Vander Esch is missed.
Yeah, he is, man. They miss him on defense. But you know what? Before we move on,
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you push this button right here so we can play the ad read for Jeff Garcia, Locked On Spurs.
very nice.
Push it down all the way. Locked On Spurs is your daily Spurs podcast, hosted by Jeff Garcia, the lead Spurs writer for Ken's 5 San Antonio. Jeff has a healthy plethora of guests all the time on the Locked On Spurs podcast. You can also follow Jeff on Threads at Jeff G Ken's 5 SA. You can also follow Jeff on Twitter at Jeff G Spurs Zone. So make sure you go ahead and give Jeff a follow not only on Threads and Twitter, but also on YouTube at youtube.com/at Locked On Spurs. This is where you're going to be able to find the replay of the Locked On Spurs podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share.
Daily content of the San Antonio Spurs by Jeff Garcia. He follows the team. He's in the locker room after every home game. Jeff Garcia knows what's going on when it comes to the Spurs. I subscribe on not only YouTube, I subscribe on Spotify as well. I listen every day to that content. He's also on kens5.com, so you can follow all of his articles on there. Today's guest on Locked On Spurs is someone who's accused of being a Sochan hater. It is Michael Jimenez.
Michael Skip.
We filmed this. We filmed this inside the Frost Bank Center yesterday.
Oh, with technical difficulty.
Yes, we had to do it twice, right? The first time was good, technical difficulties, so we had to do it again. And we had the crowd behind us, walking through the concourse area. It was good, but today's topic of conversation is Victor Wembanyama going to be an all-star this year? Or do we have to pump the brakes on that? So again, Jeff Garcia is going to drop that later on today. Jack Thompson is also going to be on that episode of Locked On Spurs.
Nice. Hey, you know what I wanted to go ahead and say real quick too? Hey, since we're going ahead and upping our video quality and our production, and there's been a lot of expense that has been happening lately. So what we would appreciate you guys to do is, if you can, go ahead and donate to us. You know, if you like the show, you like what we do, buy us a beer. You know, I'm going to go ahead and get that to work because I can't right now. I'm in the wrong setting here, but we're going to go ahead and start flashing the little graphic. It's going to come across the screen here. And when it does, it has a QR code, has a URL, you know, buying us a beer, tipping us. If you like what we do, starts at $1, man. Dropped it down. $1. $1. So we're going to be funded by you, the listeners, the fans, you know, so we greatly appreciate any and all support. And if you also like what we do, go ahead and give us some love, man.
Yeah, show some love.
Hit that like button, you know.
And beyond the like button, share what we do.
Yeah.
Let people know that you follow this show, that we're doing what we're doing, and that means going onto your Facebook platform, onto your Twitter accounts, your X accounts, and sharing what we're doing so that people know that we're out here doing our thing. Because, you know, that's the thing about podcasting. People are going after me today because they didn't like my Sochan take, right? And I find it interesting because people think that, oh, well, you just podcast. Like that's an insult. And I mentioned to them, I mean, how many people watch this show or listen to the show? We have different platforms. It's kind of hard to tally it all up because we get X number of views on YouTube. We get X number of views on Facebook. We get X number of views on Twitter and listens on Spotify and iHeart, all that stuff. I would say that it's probably 500 to 2,000, right? We've had some really big shows where we had a lot of people on there. And they make reference to the fact that, you know, I don't have a radio show anymore and that Mike Taylor doesn't have a show anymore. Well, guess what? Mike Taylor and I had something in common. We both had successful, highly rated shows. And that's no disrespect to the other shows. That's just fact. But it is so freeing to be doing a podcast that when you talk to people who are in radio, guess what they wish they could do?
Podcast.
They wish that they could podcast and make the same amount of money.
Live stream, yeah.
Radio shows are acting like podcasters these days because that's where they know the direction. Podcasters are not acting like we're on the radio. we do an hour and 15-minute long show, right? I hit a wire there, so my bad. We do an hour and 15-minute long show, and there's no commercials. We don't toss to break. So the content that we do in an hour and 15 minutes is the equivalent of doing a 2.5 hour long show on the radio. So I like what we're doing here. And guess what? I get to come in and out in an hour and 15 minutes. You are 10 minutes from my house.
Yep.
I get to go back to work on my business, and make money. This is a win-win for me. And on top of that, kind of like earmuffs on old school.
Oh, the audio specs, by the way.
You can say shit, damn, fuck on.
Oh, yeah.
All you gotta do is say earmuffs. I get to say whatever the hell I want to say.
Yeah.
I don't have who's corporate around here. Who's the corporate person to tell me?
I don't know.
Because when I was on the radio, I had people who would give me crap about don't talk about this. Don't beat up on the Cowboys too much. Don't say that. Don't forget to say this. Do this. Mention this. And don't get me wrong, it was my show, but there were it was kind of like bowling with the rails up. You know,
you were under constraints.
I had to stay within the lane, right? Here, I don't have to do any of that stuff. I don't have to do any of that. I get to hang out with you, Joe. Hour and 15 minutes and get the hell out, go on with my life.
Yeah, it's fun though, man.
It's
we have a lot of fun.
And having conversations with Mike Taylor about podcasting versus radio.
Oh yeah, man.
I think he's right. I think
it's more
right.
fun. He's doing a great job, by the way. If you haven't, go make sure you listen to the Mike Taylor show. Him and DJLG Lawrence, they're doing a great job. Man.
And even though he and I we're going on at the same time right now because of your schedule changing, it doesn't matter. Because whether you get his podcast on Spotify or iHeart, and you get this podcast on iHeart or Spotify, you can listen to them in whatever order you want to listen to them to. And we're going to be making some changes as time goes on.
Yeah.
Some improvements we might be adding to the roster, adding to the team. It's good times, man. And now I kind of have a better grasp of things that's going on in my world. I can be more consistent about being here. The only time that I think that I'm going to be missing anytime soon is going to be my daughter's college graduation in mid-December. But aside from that, I should be here on that Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Yeah. Oh, and you're probably going to be a fill-in too for Brandon Medina, maybe on Sunday for the Fantasy Gods.
Fantasy Gods.
He's going to be over watching the game in Minnesota. David
Otwater reaching out and saying, OU Boston is out of the top 10. Dude, it could be the last bedlam. That's one of the bad things about OU going to the SEC is that bedlam, that OU versus Oklahoma State rivalry is gone. That was one of my favorite rivalries to watch. It's amazing. The Longhorns, though, still have that outside chance of making the college football playoff. They have to run the table, though.
I saw people were they came for you yesterday because of your Sochan take. And they were also coming for Mike Taylor on social media because of what he was saying for the Cowboys, man.
He went after the Cowboys. Yeah, he was talking crap about Dak Prescott. And I get it. Dak, I'm not a Cowboy fan, so I can be very objective about the Cowboys. People say that I'm a Cowboy hater. Whatever. I'm not a fan. And because of that, I can see it for what it is.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott is good. He's just not great.
You know what I do like about Mike Taylor, man? He's funny as hell, bro, because all these people are coming at him. He's firing back.
Yeah. He's doing a Sochan. He's firing back at the haters.
Yeah. So I'm like, I like that. I like your style, Mike. We need to get him back here in the studio, man, so we can have him drunk by the time he leaves again.
We do. We'll bring him with Chicano Fuertes here. Get him some mimosas or manmosas.
Yeah. Hey, man, I gave him a 3-finger pour into his credit, man. He finished the whole damn thing. It's like, good on you, Mike.
Tonight, Monday Night Football, we've got the LA Chargers on the road against the New York Jets. The Jets are not favored. The Chargers are favored by 3.5 points, but man, the Jets, they just find a way to win. It's like watching Tebow.
Oh man, I don't want to hear that. The Jets, I'm done with them, man. They've already messed up my parlays. I can't even tell you how many times. The Jets belong to the streets now. I'm done with them. I've been told this to Brandon. He makes fun of me all the time. What about the Jets, bro? I said, no, they hit one of my parlays really big in week 1, and that one come from behind game where you had Aaron Rodgers go down. after that, I'm done with them.
And you're done with them?
I'm done with them.
Man, imagine if Zach Wilson takes them to the playoffs.
No,
and Aaron Rodgers is healthy enough to come back.
That is not going to happen, bro. You've seen Zach Wilson.
AF Blue says Dak is Jag, just a guy, not the reason why they lost, but he'll never be the reason why they win the big game.
Ouch.
Man, calling somebody just a guy is kind of an insult. And yesterday at the Spurs game, talking about Sochan, I said, he's just a guy. He's just a guy.
You were comparing him to Lonnie, and I said, at least Lonnie, could shoot a little bit better, but and you were laughing at that.
Do we have some love coming from Mexico? What's going on? I'm trying to read the fine print from your computer screen right here.
Oh, it's up here on the big screen for you. Let's see. It takes a little while here.
Saludos.
It's coming from Chihuahueña, Mexico. Juárez, Mexico. Great show.
Very nice.
Gracias, muchas gracias.
We've gone international. When I had control of the YouTube page a couple of months ago, you can see where the people are watching from, and you're like, you saw that there was a lot of them from the 210 area because we're coming out of San Antonio. Yeah. But we had a good number of people in the 956, the Valley. We had some 512, but we also had some in the Philippines.
Yeah, dude. Philippines always have a following there. I don't know why,
it's
man.
Military installation.
Probably, yeah, because the same thing happens with like the
California was Fernandez.
Yeah, like when I do two shots is like in the top 5 or something like that in the Philippines when it comes to Spurs podcast. Strange, bro.
It's kind of like we're not pop stars here, but we're big in Japan.
We're big. I'm big in the Philippines. Yeah, we're gonna have to start bringing this to a close, though.
Oh, AF Blue with still better than Derek Carr, though. Hey, you know what? Derek Carr is actually going to have a home playoff game this year.
Yeah,
5-4, starting to pull away from the NFC South. All I said was 9 wins will get that division. Derek Carr is playing a lot better. That team is finally offensively scoring in the red zone. Taysom Hill has got to be my favorite football player. What did he do yesterday? 40 yards rushing, threw a touchdown. He caught one. I mean, what does he do? He plays football. He plays. What does
Fernandez say? All we do is win.
Yeah, that's what he is. So I'll take it, baby. I don't care if they have a crappy schedule. A win is a win is a win, and there's a good chance the Cowboys will play the Saints defense first week of the playoffs.
Hey, Wednesdays, you know what that means. We're going to have the one and only Jeff Garcia joining us talking all things Spurs. Hopefully, we'll be talking about a win.
And we might be talking about a movie review. We were going to do it today, but we had so much sports going on yesterday that
Jean-Claude, right?
I just realized you guys are going to force me to pay $4 to watch a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie because Bloodsport, which I've never seen before, going to give a movie review on Wednesday. I've never seen it before, and it's not streaming for free anywhere.
Really? That's surprising, dude.
Let's see if it's on regular YouTube. I don't want to pay $4.
Maybe it is on regular YouTube because you know how they have some of these old movies and they can watch them for free?
Yeah.
I'd go ahead and look that up.
I saw that it's going to be on Showtime next week. I was like, I could get it on free because I think I have the Showtime app, if I'm not mistaken, or whatever they call it.
I have it with Paramount Plus.
Oh, you do? Oh, I have Paramount Plus.
Yeah, so if you have Paramount Plus, I think you pay like $2 or $3 more, and you get Showtime for
all of the crap that I have of these $2 and $5.
It adds up, bro.
It adds up, dude. I just realized the other day that I have season passes to SeaWorld. I haven't gone in 6 months.
God.
I signed up and I forgot about it, and it's like I just noticed on my credit card statement it's right there.
Take the kids out to go see the lights.
I'm gonna go see Shamu by myself, man.
Shamu, and what else? All the other Sesame Street characters they got over there.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Mike Baez says, watch it on YouTube. I'm going to give a fair assessment to this movie. I want to enjoy it. People think that I want to have hatred towards all things. What was that from In Living Color? Hated it.
Oh, yeah. What does it say? Men on movies or something like that? That skit they used to do?
Yeah.
Men on film. It was funny. If you don't know, you should go back and look at the old skits, dude. They were hilarious.
And it's game day tonight. Not only Monday Night Football, but we also have the San Antonio Spurs in action. Early start, early tip-off, 6 o'clock. You're going to see.
So you got Monday Night Football and the Spurs playing at the same time. Hey, that's when it pays to have something like YouTube where you can watch more than one show or one sporting event at the same time. That's pretty cool, man. I know they did the same thing with the NBA League Pass because I have that courtesy of the Spurs for being a season ticket holder. So you just grab games that are showing up on the top bar that they have the scores. They're showing the scores, and you just drag them, and you can have like 4 games on at once.
That's cool.
That's cool, dude.
That is cool. YouTube Sports. I'm sorry. What's it called? What do I have? Yeah, I
have
do
YouTube TV.
YouTube TV. YouTube TV does a pretty good job, but you can't pick which ones you want to do.
That's
although the other day they had the World Series and Monday Night Football on, and that worked out pretty well. That was the first time I had seen them do a split screen of different sports, because typically it's like all football games, all college football, all college basketball, but they actually combined those two. That was pretty good. I like YouTube.
Yeah,
I like it a lot.
So I'm going to go ahead and head over there because I have to hit the end stream button. But
all right, let me see if we have any before we go. Any other good comments before we go? Because like I said, we're doing a different setup today that we're trying to do. So I appreciate everyone being very very nice. Nick saying Mike pissed me off with his pop take the other day, but I still listen. LOL. Nick, thank you so much for that. Texas Latina says, I like Mike. He's funny. Not sure if she's talking about me or if she's talking about Mike Taylor, but all.
Oh no, she's talking about you, because before I even mentioned Taylor, she had her put the comment.
Josh Jimenez says Victor is an all-star. Oh yeah, Jack Thompson gonna listen now, talking about Locked On Spurs. Rudolph Renee saying that Jimenez is a Sochan hater. Mario Cavasso saying the Eagles are lucky to have a bye this week because Jalen Hurts is hurting. That's a big deal, and that's actually very true. But then again, on one leg, you beat the Cowboys. Lots of comments coming in, man. Hanover Fist saying, yes, Shroud had a comeback win, man. Good job. Fly, Eagles, fly, says Chris Gonzalez. That stings for Cowboy fans, man. That stings for Cowboy fans.
Yeah.
The dream show. It
wasn't
a groin injury. That wasn't a groin injury. MRI was negative, bro. Well, you can have a hurt groin, dude. I guess it's the difference between being hurt and being injured, right? And then Christopher Leha calls me a flip-flopper. Rudolph saying listening to Mike is like listening to Rush Limbaugh or Joe Pags. Most of the time you tune in just to listen to the bullshit and get upset. Joe Pags got mad, man. I got banned from Joe Pags' show because I called him out on his bullshit. I called him out, and I was like, "Oh," and he lost the argument, and he knew he lost the argument, and he goes, "Well, you just obviously don't have the." I remember he said something to the effect of, "You don't have the life experience." I said, "Dude, I'm a 40-year-old man, a father, a husband. I have 3 kids, and I have a business. What do you mean I don't have?" I was like, "You're not talking to a 20-year-old. Thank you for thinking that I'm young. Maybe I have a young voice on when I call into your show." But yeah, none of that bullshit.
Rush Limbaugh, rest in peace, big fella.
Nah, dude. I don't rest in peace with that guy. Not at all.
Oh man.
But this has been fun. Why is AM Blue asking what would I do with $1 billion? 2 teams at the same time. Why are we doing some references to Office Space on our threads over here? By the way, I'm at MJ Acquired Taste on Twitter, X. Joe Garcia is at 2 Shots Podcast. This has been fun. We're gonna do more pop culture on Wednesday, though. So we're here Wednesday. We're here on Friday. Everyone have a great day. Again, MCS General Contracting, thank you for sponsoring. Jeff Garcia, Locked On Spurs. Again, I, along with Jack Thompson, will be the guest today. It usually drops around this time, but thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening to the podcast. Spread the word that we're doing what we do. You'll have a good day.